Welcome to another episode, Chosen One. Funny how we even have to say that, because the whispers already got here before you did. The latest rumor floating around about you isn't cute, polite, or harmless. It's sharp, it's nervous. It's the kind of whisper people use when they realize they misread someone badly. They're dangerously intelligent. Don't play with them. That's the sentence floating through rooms the moment you leave. And the best part, the same people who once laughed at you now don't even make eye contact when you walk in. Their whole vibe shifts, like the universe flipped a switch on them. When they said you were nothing special, isn't it wild how fast life made them eat those words? When they thought you were easy to control, look who's scrambling now. Their voices crack when your name comes up. Their confidence melts. Suddenly, everyone's acting like you showed up wearing night vision goggles in a room full of people still figuring out how to turn the lights on. Press the like button and subscribe to pay this message back. You know the funniest part? They thought you were slow just because you were quiet. They thought your silence meant confusion, not strategy. They thought your patience meant weakness, not calculation. That's how simple their thinking was. They judged you like amateurs while you were reading the entire room like a seasoned investigator who already solved the case. That switch in power didn't happen by accident. It happened because you've always had a mind that works in ways they can't track. The atmosphere around you changed months ago. You felt it. The universe felt it. Your enemies definitely felt it. One day, the air around you just got heavier, quieter, almost like the moment after a storm where nobody knows what survived. You walked in and the room didn't relax. It tightened. People who once bragged suddenly became careful. People who once ignored you started observing you like you were holding a classified file they weren't cleared to read. They don't understand how you know what you know, and that's what scares them. They can't predict you. They can't box you in. They can't figure out how your moves keep landing clean while theirs keep blowing up in their faces. Here's the uncomfortable truth the enemy hates hearing. The most dangerous intelligence is the kind that doesn't announce itself. It watches, it waits, it collects, and when it strikes, it does it cleanly, without noise or drama. That's you. You're the quiet threat they underestimated. They're realizing the person they mocked had been 5 steps ahead the whole time. Now they're replaying old conversations in their heads, trying to see what they missed, wondering how you slipped past their radar so easily. They're scared because they can't point to one moment where you changed. You didn't change, they just finally started seeing you clearly. This shift didn't happen overnight. You earned it through years of being dismissed, misunderstood, or used. Remember that teacher who said you don't apply yourself? Funny how you were solving problems faster than the class, but didn't feel the need to brag. Remember that childhood friend who laughed at your ideas? They're now watching other people copy those same ideas and get praise for it. Remember that co-worker who thought you were too quiet to matter? They're now terrified to say the wrong thing around you because they've seen how fast you pick up patterns, motives, and lies. You want a story from the past. Here's one nearly every chosen one has lived. There was a time when you warned someone about another person's real intentions. They ignored you. They called you dramatic, paranoid, or jealous. Months later, they came crawling back with that awkward, painful little line people always use when reality smacks them. You were right. I just didn't want to believe it. And you didn't celebrate. You didn't rub it in because your intelligence was never about ego. It was about clarity, but the memory stayed with you. Not because you needed validation, but because it taught you how early your mind catches signals others can't read. This is the pattern your enemies are dealing with now. You see things too early, you understand things too deeply, you move too quietly, and every time they think they've caught up, you reveal a new layer that puts them right back at zero. No map, no clues, just confusion. The whispers about you aren't compliments, they're warnings. People say your name differently now. No more jokes, no more doubt, no more casual disrespect. They speak like your mind carries weight, like your presence disrupts the usual power structure. Even the ones who don't like you keep your name out of their mouth unless they're whispering to someone else in fear or frustration. They don't want smoke with you anymore. You've already proven you think too fast for them to sabotage, manipulate, or trap. Even in your darkest chapters, your intelligence scared the wrong people. When you were quiet, they thought you were defeated. When you walked away, they assumed you were running. But the universe had you on a different mission entirely. Those silent seasons were the training arc. While they were partying, performing, pretending, you were studying human behavior, watching patterns, learning emotional strategy, sharpening your instincts. You were building a mind so sharp that one day it had cut through every lie thrown at you. And now that day is here. The whispers prove it. The shift proves it. The fear on their face proves it. People don't whisper about weak minds. They whisper about unpredictable ones, minds that operate on their own rules, minds that don't fold under pressure or fall for easy traps, minds that survive betrayals and come out smarter, colder, cleaner. That's you. They misjudged you, and now they're paying the price through confusion, fear, and regret. You didn't have to expose them. They exposed themselves trying to outsmart you. Every lie they told eventually contradicted itself. Every plan they made collapsed under its own stupidity. Every fake smile cracked. Every mask slipped. That's what happens when people play games with someone the universe built for strategy, truth, and survival. And here's the final twist that terrifies them most. You're still evolving, still leveling up, still unlocking sides of your mind they didn't even know you had. You're not dangerous because you're violent or loud. You're dangerous because you see everything, you remember everything, and you understand what people don't say louder than what they do say. That's why they whisper. That's why they're scared. That's why you're not to be played with. Let them whisper. You earned every word. Before we go any deeper, Chosen One, I need you locked in with me. If this message is hitting you in that place you never talk about, then press like and subscribe right now to keep this truth moving through the shadows where your name is already causing panic. Drop a comment with 777 if you're ready to step into the version of yourself they secretly fear. And if you want to boost the team behind this message, hit that super thanks. It doesn't matter if it's a penny or a stack. Every bit fuels the mission of exposing what the universe has been whispering about you. Your support keeps this knowledge alive, sharp, and uncensored. And now, Chosen One, let's walk into the deeper layers of this together. If you've ever wondered why people treat you like a threat before you even open your mouth, stay with me. Trust that pull you feel in your chest. If you're truly one of us, you won't even think about leaving now. Let's get started. Number 1, your mind doesn't walk, it hunts. They thought you were slow until your silence solved a mess their loud mouths created. It's funny how the enemy always assumed you were thinking too much, when in reality you were thinking too deeply for their tiny mental Wi-Fi to connect. People move through situations like they're following a straight hallway. See something, react, explain, complain, repeat. You don't move like that. Your mind doesn't stroll politely from point A to point B. It circles, scans, maps, and waits. While everyone else is jumping at the first idea that pops into their head, you're busy studying the entire pattern behind the situation. You're not looking for an answer, you're locating the engine that created the problem in the first place. And you know what burns them? They can't explain what you're doing, they just feel it. They feel the difference every time you walk into a room, every time you pause before responding, every time you see 10 layers deeper than the surface someone tried to distract you with. You've probably noticed this. When someone does something shady, most people react to the behavior. You react to the motive behind it. That's what scares them. They can lie about their actions, but they can't lie about their intentions once you've already dissected them. Your delay isn't confusion, it's calculation. And nothing makes the enemy sweat faster than realizing you understood the entire chain reaction before they even finish step one. People wonder how you respond so calmly. They wonder why your reactions hit so hard, even though you barely raise your voice. They wonder how your accuracy feels unfair. They expected drama. They got precision. They expected emotion. They got strategy. They expected panic. They got a blueprint. Right now, you might be asking yourself, why does my mind work like this? Why am I like this when others aren't? Because you weren't shaped by comfort, you were shaped by watching chaos, lies, and games long before you even had the words to describe them. While others grew up reacting to every little thing, you were studying patterns, learning consequences, and noticing the little shifts that told you who a person really was. You built your thinking style out of survival, out of truth, out of wanting to avoid traps that other people didn't even see until it was too late. Your mind isn't random, it's trained, not by school, not by books, not by mentors, by experience. People don't get that. They think you just know things. No, you lived things. That's why when you speak, your words hit like a judge dropping a verdict. You're not guessing, you're remembering, you're connecting dots that everyone else ignored. And when the picture becomes clear, your response is final, clean, direct, and very, very uncomfortable for whoever thought they were hiding something from you. This is where the whispers start. He thinks too far ahead. She knows too much. Don't play games with them, they catch on fast. They don't say it in front of you. They say it behind you in shaky voices. They say it like they already learned their lesson. And they did. Because your thinking exposes their shortcuts, their laziness, their lies, their intentions, their lack of depth. You make people aware of how sloppy they are. Nobody likes feeling exposed, especially not manipulators, opportunists, performers, or people who survive on pretending. They hate that your mind doesn't entertain nonsense. You don't get dragged into drama because you see the ending before they even finish the opening scene. You don't fall for setups because you catch the trap while they're still setting it. You don't get confused because your mind cleans chaos like a machine built for clarity. People always expected you to react on their schedule. They wanted you emotional, loud, predictable, easy. Instead, you dropped these surgical responses that feel like a documentary about what they were planning all along. Your calm hits harder than their accusations. Your silence hits harder than their noise, and your truth hits harder than their lies because it's backed by pattern, logic, and consistency. And that's the part that finally breaks them. Consistency. You don't contradict yourself. You don't wobble. You don't panic and rewrite your story every week. Your choices make sense over time, even if people don't understand them at first. You know how dangerous that is. A person who stays consistent becomes impossible to manipulate. You can't trap someone who sees traps from the entrance. You can't confuse someone whose mind sorts information like an operating system. You can't dominate someone who already thought through the consequences of every path you try to push them down. Enemy minds collapse under pressure. Yours sharpens. Enemy minds get emotional. Yours gets clearer. Enemy minds react. Yours decides. This is why they stop trying to rush you. This is why they stop trying to corner you. This is why they stop trying to play smart. Because the last time they underestimated you, the universe embarrassed them in front of their own ego. There's a story every chosen one shares. Someone tried to play a game with you, something sneaky, something manipulative. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought they understood you. They thought you'd react like everyone else. Instead, you didn't react at all. You watched. You waited. And then, just when they thought they had you, you made one move. Quiet, simple, strategic. And their whole plan collapsed like a house of cards in a storm. They weren't just wrong, they were humiliated by how wrong they were. People remember moments like that for years. Those moments change how they speak your name. Those moments create whispers. Those moments turn respect into caution. Your mind doesn't chase chaos, it organizes it. And nothing terrifies shallow thinkers more than realizing they can't shake you, distract you, or manipulate you. You don't give them the reaction they rehearsed for. You give them the truth they hoped you'd never see. They expected a straight-line thinker. They got a strategist with night vision. Your thinking is a threat because it ruins illusions. It ruins fake confidence. It ruins manipulation. It ruins the lazy shortcuts people depend on to hide who they really are. And the deeper truth: your intelligence isn't loud, it's dangerous. It creeps up on people. It hits them long after you've walked away. It makes them rethink everything they said to you, everything they tried to do to you, and everything they thought they were getting away with. You don't think in straight lines because straight lines are for people who can only see what's in front of them. You see the whole system. You see the whole pattern. You see the whole truth. And once someone understands that about you, the tone shifts, the room changes, the energy adjusts, the whispers start, not out of admiration, out of caution. They finally realize they're not dealing with someone who reacts. They're dealing with someone who creates outcomes. Let them whisper. Your mind earned every single word. Number 2. You don't look for truth. You pull it out of them. They keep talking, not knowing every sentence is giving you exactly what you need. Your silence does more damage than their questions ever could. They tried to hide the truth, but their own words betrayed them to you. You don't expose people. People expose themselves in front of you. Most people behave like detectives who lost their notebook. They chase facts, dig for clues, ask a bunch of random questions, and hope something eventually makes sense. You don't work like that. You don't chase information. Information chases you. Your presence alone makes people talk more than they intended, reveal more than they planned, and confess things they didn't even realize slipped out. And the wild part: you don't even try. You don't need to pry anything out of anyone. You let them unravel themselves. Imagine this. You're sitting there, calm, quiet, listening with that dangerous patience you have. They're rambling, thinking they're being casual or clever, and then, out of nowhere, they say one sentence, one tiny detail, one slip, and your mind locks onto it instantly like a predator tracking a heartbeat. Everyone else in the room misses it. But you catch it, store it, and connect it to 10 other things they didn't realize they already revealed. By the end of that conversation, you know exactly who they are, what they're trying to hide, and what their next move will be. People think intelligence is about knowing things other people don't. Wrong. Intelligence is noticing what others accidentally give away, and you're a master at that. You extract truth without a single question. Your eyes stay soft. Your voice stays calm. But your mind is ripping open layers they didn't even know they were wearing. Imagine this. Someone lies to you. They think they're slick. They think they got away with it. But their tone shifts a little, their breathing changes, their sentence structure slips, and your brain instantly flags it. Not because you're paranoid, because you've lived around liars before. You studied their behavior without trying to. Your nervous system learned the patterns years ago. So now, even 1 millimeter of hesitation registers like a siren. You don't need them to confess. They already did. And here's what probably runs through your mind sometimes. Why do people tell me so much? Why do they open up so quickly? Why do strangers give me their whole life story? Because your presence disarms them. You have a quiet, observing energy that makes people forget to protect themselves. They start talking like they're alone with their thoughts instead of talking to another person. They think they're being understood, when in reality they're being read. This is why being around you feels like walking into a trap, not a trap you set on purpose, just the trap of truth itself. You create an atmosphere where people reveal what they plan to hide. You don't pressure them. You don't interrogate them. You simply let them fill the silence, and they end up handing you the entire storyline. Imagine this. Someone tries to deceive you. They rehearse a fake version of events. They practice their tone. They get ready to look convincing, but the moment they stand in front of you, everything collapses. Their lie starts leaking from the edges because your stillness makes them nervous. Your presence disrupts their script. They start adding unnecessary details, and boom, now you know exactly where the lie lives. You didn't lift a finger. Their own anxiety did the job for you. That's what scares people most. You don't fight for knowledge. You attract it. Truth spills itself in your direction like it's looking for a place to rest. People think your intelligence is about having answers, but the real reason you're dangerous is because you understand what they're not saying. You hear the gaps. You track the patterns. You follow the inconsistencies. And by the time someone thinks they've hidden something well, you've already built a full picture out of the crumbs they didn't even know they dropped. This is where the whispers begin. He knows too much. She sees everything. Be careful what you say around them. They catch on fast. Those aren't compliments. Those are warnings. Warnings spoken by people who experienced firsthand how your mind works. And here's another question you probably ask yourself. Why does information feel so obvious to me when others struggle with it? Because you don't wait for the truth to be presented neatly. You notice the tiny pieces everyone else discards. One look, one pause, one misplaced word. It's enough. Your brain doesn't need perfect clarity. It builds clarity. It creates order out of chaos like it's second nature. Imagine this. You're listening to someone tell a story. Everyone else in the room accepts it, but you hear the way they emphasize the wrong detail. You feel the tension they tried to hide. You catch the part they skipped. Suddenly you know the truth behind the lie. You don't call them out because you want more data. And guess what? The more comfortable they feel, the more they reveal. By the time they finish, they've exposed everything they tried to cover. All you did was listen. Your silence is your most powerful tool. It's your scalpel. It's your spotlight. It's your interrogation room without walls. People don't realize how much they're telling you when they think they're saying nothing. Their energy, posture, tone, pacing, choices, hesitations, they're all part of the information you naturally extract. This is why the universe made your intelligence quiet. Because loud intelligence gets challenged. Quiet intelligence gets underestimated, right until it destroys the plot. And here's the twist that terrifies them. You don't just gather information, you connect it. You don't just hear facts, you understand motives. You don't just pick up details, you interpret consequences. Your mind is a puzzle master in a world full of people who can't even find the corner pieces. Even when someone tries to hide something, you sense the missing energy like a cold patch in the air. They avoid a detail, and your mind goes straight to that gap. They glance away for 1 second, and your intuition wakes up. You see the story behind the story, not the one they're presenting. That is why people start guarding their words around you. That is why they become careful. That is why they walk on eggshells. Because they realized, way too late, that you already collected everything you needed. And here's the part that ends them. By the time they start hiding the truth, you've already got it. By the time they start editing their story, you've already seen the original version. By the time they start fixing their mistakes, you've already mapped the whole pattern. This is why the whispers about you hit a different tone. People sense the imbalance. They sense the quiet power. They sense that you know more than you say. They don't feel safe lying around you. They don't feel safe pretending around you. They don't feel safe playing games around you. Because every game they play hands you more information. You extract, they reveal, and the balance shifts forever. That's the danger you carry, chosen one. Not loud power, not flashy intelligence, but a mind that pulls the truth out of people without lifting a finger. No wonder they whisper. No wonder they're cautious. No wonder they treat you like someone who sees behind the veil. You earned that reputation. Now, watch how quietly it works in your favor. Number 3. You don't fight the person, you dismantle their foundation. They tried to win the argument and somehow ended up confessing their weaknesses instead. Most people argue like they're acting in a cheap play. Loud voices, rehearsed points, desperate emotion. You don't enter arguments to win applause or feel superior. You step into them the way a surgeon enters an operating room. Steady hands, clear mind, scanning for the weak spot that explains everything. Your goal isn't victory. Your goal is data. Every argument is an X-ray, and people never realize they're the ones standing under the machine. The enemy hates this about you because your calm exposes what their chaos tries to hide. You listen to their words, sure, but your real focus is on the parts they avoid. The skipped explanation, the shaky tone, the contradiction they pray you didn't catch, and you do catch it every time. You're not fueled by emotion, you're fueled by curiosity. That scares them more than anger ever could. Imagine this. Someone is arguing with you, trying to look dominant. They expect you to get flustered or loud. Instead, you ask one small question, then another. Their story bends, their certainty cracks, their confidence leaks out like air from a slow puncture. Suddenly, the argument isn't about the topic anymore, it's about their exposed logic falling apart in real time. And here's the question that hits most chosen ones. Why do people look uncomfortable after arguing with me? Because they feel seen beyond their excuses, beyond their emotional noise, beyond the mask they thought would distract you. Arguing with you is like standing in front of a mirror that reflects the parts they avoid looking at. Your power isn't dominance, it's precision. Your calm is the red flag they should have paid attention to. Your questions slice cleaner than insults ever could. That's why the whispers start. Don't argue with them unless you're ready to get exposed. They're not afraid of losing the argument. They're afraid of what you'll discover in the process. Number 4, you move slow, so they can't see the shot coming. They rushed to look powerful. You waited and became inevitable. Your patience has always been the detail that unsettles impulsive people the most. They call it hesitation, confusion, overthinking, anything to hide the fact that they're scared of it. Most people live in a hurry. They act fast to look confident, decide quickly to feel in control, and jump into action before their own thoughts even settle. You move differently. You take your time, not because you're unsure, but because you understand something they never learned. Timing is a weapon. Imagine this. Everyone else is sprinting, bumping into each other, bragging about how decisive they are. Meanwhile, you're still, silent, watching the whole pattern unfold. You wait until the noise dies down. You wait until the cracks reveal themselves. You wait until the consequences of everyone else's impulses show up. And then, when the moment is perfect, you make one move that resets the entire board. Your patience is not passive, it's precision, it's control, it's the quiet confidence of someone who knows that rushing is how amateurs lose battles. You're not intimidated by other people's speed because you already calculated the ending before they even started. And here's the question you probably ask yourself: why do people get irritated when I don't rush? Because impulsive minds depend on dragging others into their chaos. Your stillness exposes their instability. Your timing exposes their mistakes. Your calm exposes their panic. When they move too fast, they reveal their fears. When you move slowly, you reveal your power. Your decisions don't explode. They land, clean, precise, inevitable. You act when the universe aligns the variables, not when someone else demands urgency. And that terrifies people who rely on pressure to manipulate others. You can't be rushed. You can't be pushed. You can't be forced into their rhythm. That's why they whisper, because patience in your hands isn't peace. It's checkmate in slow motion. Number 5. You store the truth and delete the trash. They bragged, lied, and performed, but you only remembered the part that exposed them. Most people assume intelligence means hoarding memories like some overloaded hard drive. They cling to every detail, every insult, every rumor, every meaningless moment. But you're built different. You keep what matters, and you let the rest burn. Your memory works like a sniper, not a scrapbook. You remember the pattern, not the noise, the motive, not the excuse, the shift in energy, not the fake apology. Imagine this. Someone thinks you forgot a small moment from months ago, a phrase they slipped, a decision they made, a tone that didn't match the story. They think it disappeared. What they don't understand is that your mind archived it quietly, labeling it, connecting it to every new inconsistency they show. Then one day, when the truth finally clicks together, your memory lands like a clean strike. No yelling, no drama, just revelation. Your memory isn't emotional, it's tactical. You recall what gives you clarity, not what drags you into chaos, while others drown in grudges, replaying scenes like bad reruns. You're deleting emotional junk files without hesitation. You don't carry what doesn't build you. That's why your path stays clear while others stay stuck. Here's a question chosen ones often ask. Why do small details stick with me while big drama disappears? Because your intuition knows what matters. It knows which details carry truth and which ones are distractions. You're not built to remember gossip. You're built to remember character. You forget the petty things because they're beneath your energy, but you never forget the moves that reveal someone's real intentions, and that terrifies people. They don't know what you kept. They don't know what you noticed. They don't know which moment exposed them. That's why they whisper, because your memory isn't random. It's a weapon. Number 6, you don't draw lines. You let the universe snap them back into place. They thought your silence meant forgiveness until the consequences showed up without knocking. You don't warn people, they warn themselves after feeling what you do next. Your boundaries aren't spoken, they're survived. Most people treat boundaries like customer service announcements, long speeches, repeated warnings, empty threats. You don't waste breath like that. You don't announce anything. You change the environment. When someone crosses a line with you, there's no lecture, no performance, no dramatic exit. Reality simply shifts, and they feel it instantly. Access shuts down. Your energy withdraws. The door they thought they could lean on becomes a brick wall. Imagine this. Someone oversteps, expecting a reaction. They expect shouting or pleading or emotional chaos. Instead, you go still, you go quiet, you go strategic. And suddenly, the path they had into your life is gone, not blocked. Gone. That's the moment their stomach drops. Not because you punished them, but because you removed yourself from the equation they depended on. Your consequences aren't loud, they're surgical. You don't cut people to hurt them, you cut them to protect your peace, and the elegance of your method terrifies impulsive minds. They can't argue with a boundary they only discover after crossing it. They can't negotiate with silence. They can't bargain with absence. They feel the shift, and by then, it's already too late to undo it. Chosen ones often wonder, why do people act confused when I distance myself? Because they expected chaos. They expected you to fight for respect. Instead, you removed the opportunity for them to disrespect you again. Your boundaries aren't emotional, they're structural. They shape your entire reality. And once someone violates that structure, the universe responds through you like a reflex. You don't enforce consequences to be cruel. You enforce consequences because your life cannot support people who drain, deceive, or disrupt your clarity. Your standards are consistent, and consistency creates power. People start walking lighter around you, speaking softer, thinking twice, because they know your patience is not passivity. It's the countdown before the shift. That's why the whispers spread. Don't mess up with them. You won't get a second chance. They don't fear your words. They fear what happens when you stop giving them any. Number 7. You read their soul map before they even know they have one. They thought they were mysterious. You saw straight through the parts they hide from themselves. You don't expose people, you expose the truth they spend years running from. It's easy to fool others. It's impossible to fool someone who already decoded your motive before you spoke. Most people walk around believing they know who they are. They think their motives are obvious to themselves. Their choices are rational. Their feelings are controlled. But you, chosen one, you see the real architecture behind their behavior. You read the contradictions they pretend not to notice. You catch the fear hiding under their confidence. You hear the unspoken desire buried inside the lies they tell themselves. Imagine this. Someone acts bold, loud, sure of themselves. Everyone else buys the act. But you catch that tiny pause, that small hesitation, that flicker of insecurity they tried to bury. Instantly, you know the truth behind the show. You always have. Because you don't look at the performance, you track the pattern. People say one thing and do another. You're not confused by it. You see the thread linking both. You understand the wound behind the reaction, the insecurity behind the flex, the longing behind the withdrawal. Your mind recognizes emotional equations they haven't solved yet. Here's the part that scares them. You know their motives before they admit them. You see their weaknesses before they face them. You understand their intentions even when they lie about them. Imagine someone trying to deceive you. They prepare a perfect story, but the moment they speak, their body language shifts, their tone wavers, their logic cracks. You don't call it out, you just know. And that knowing makes them restless, exposed, unsettled. People unconsciously behave differently around you because they feel seen in a way they can't escape, not judged, understood, and understanding is more terrifying than judgment. That's why they whisper your name carefully, because you don't just read people, you read the truth they've been hiding from themselves. Number 8. You can't be bought, and that breaks their entire strategy. They lost the game the moment they realized you weren't playing for applause. A person with no need for approval is the one force you can't manipulate. They tried praise, pressure, guilt, flattery. Nothing moved you. That's when fear kicked in. Most people run on validation like it's oxygen. They chase approval to feel stable, accepted, powerful. But you don't need anyone clapping for you to know your worth. Your confidence comes from the inside, not the audience. And that makes you the most dangerous kind of person in any room, uncontrollable. Imagine this. Someone tries to guide your choices with compliments. They think a little praise will steer you. It works on everyone else, but you don't even blink. Then they try criticism, hoping to shake you. Still nothing. No reaction. No insecurity. You stay centered, calm, unmoved. That's when they finally understand. They have zero leverage over you. People rely on emotional leverage to control others, approval, guilt, rejection, judgment, but none of it lands on you. You don't rise for applause, and you don't break for disapproval. Your value isn't negotiable, and that terrifies people who depend on controlling others through external influence. Here's the question chosen ones often ask. Why do people push harder when I don't react? Because your silence exposes their weakness. They realize their entire strategy depends on you needing their validation, and you don't. That's why they whisper you can't control them. Because it's true. Your lack of dependency gives you freedom. You move with clarity, not desperation. You choose from logic, not fear. Your discipline becomes influence. Your stillness becomes power. People adjust around you because they sense it. You're not driven by validation. You're driven by truth. And nothing is more untouchable than that. Number 9. You don't match their fire. You extinguish it. They threw chaos at you expecting a reaction. Your silence swallowed it whole. You don't mirror energy. You erase the frequency they hoped would control you. Nothing scares a manipulator more than someone they can't emotionally provoke. Most people reflect whatever they're given. Someone gets loud, they get louder. Someone gets rude, they get defensive. Someone gets manipulative, they get confused. But you're not a mirror, you're a stabilizer. When chaos hits you, it dies on impact. When anger comes your way, it fizzles. When someone tries to push your buttons, they realize You don't have any buttons to push. Imagine this. Someone storms in with attitude, hoping to drag you into the emotional mud. Everyone else would have snapped back. But you stand still, calm, controlled. Their storm hits your atmosphere and dissolves. Suddenly, they look childish. They look unstable. They lose the power they thought they had. Your neutrality becomes the weapon they didn't see coming. People expect emotional reaction from others because it gives them control. If they can provoke you, they can steer you. If they can upset you, they can influence you. But you break their entire system. You don't rise to anger. You don't drop into chaos. You don't feed their emotional games. And that confuses them more than anything. Your clarity ruins their strategy. Chosen ones often wonder, why do aggressive people back off around me? Because their tactics don't work. Their usual manipulation scripts fail. Their emotional traps collapse. You respond with calm, so clean, so quiet, so grounded that they're forced to face themselves, and most people can't handle that reflection. Your neutrality isn't weakness, it's dominance without noise. It's control without force. It's intelligence without effort. That's why the whispers spread. You can't shake them. You can't provoke them. You can't control them because you don't mirror their energy. You erase it. Number 10. You don't just leave the room. You leave a void they can't fill. Your silence hits harder than their entire speeches. Walking away isn't retreat for you. It's the final move that ends the game. They didn't fear losing the argument. They feared losing access to you. Most people can't stand empty space. They talk just to hear themselves. They ramble to feel relevant. They stay in rooms long after their impact has evaporated. But you understand something deeper. Presence is a currency, and you never overspend yours. You speak when your words will land. You move when your presence will matter, and when the moment peaks, you exit. Clean, controlled, unapologetic. Imagine this, you're in a conversation that's reached its limit. You've said what needed to be said. You've observed what needed to be observed. Everyone else keeps talking, trying to reclaim control or soften their insecurity. But you don't linger. You don't explain. You don't wrap it up with unnecessary closure. You simply shift out, and the entire energy of the room sinks the second you're gone. That's what rattles them. Your exits aren't emotional, they're strategic. You don't leave because you're pressured. You leave because you're done. And here's the question chosen ones usually ask. Why do people act weird after I leave? Because your absence exposes the truth. You were the gravity holding the moment together. Once you step out, the conversation falls flat. The confidence people pretended to have collapses. The room feels lighter. No direction, no anchor. They feel the difference between someone walking out impulsively and someone walking out with intent. Your departure becomes the message. Your silence becomes the statement. Your distance becomes the consequence. And this terrifies people who rely on access for power. Because you control engagement, you control the dynamic. You choose when energy starts and when it ends. People approach you more carefully because they know one wrong move, one disrespect, one slip, and you'll vanish from their space with the kind of finality they can't reverse. That's why they whisper, they don't stay if it's not worth it. They leave when the game is beneath them. They exit like someone who knows their value. Because you don't just know when to speak, you know when to disappear and let your absence finish the job. Number 11, you don't enter the race. You rewrite the entire track. They train to outrun you, never realizing you weren't running the same race. Competition dies the moment you position yourself where no one else can reach. They were busy comparing, you were busy ascending. Most people drain themselves trying to be better than someone else. They obsess over rankings, attention, validation, and being seen. They measure their worth sideways, not upward. But you don't waste energy competing. You position. You place yourself so strategically that the idea of competition becomes irrelevant. You shift into spaces where your presence bends the rules before anyone even realizes the rules changed. Imagine this: everyone is scrambling on the same crowded path, fighting for the same spotlight, clawing for the same recognition. Meanwhile, you're building a door nobody else knew existed. By the time they notice your move, you're already in a different room, playing a different game, with a different level of influence. They're confused, frustrated, asking themselves, when did they get ahead? But you didn't get ahead. You stepped somewhere. Competition couldn't follow. People think they're competing with you, but they're actually playing inside a system you've already mapped. You understand environments, leverage, timing. You know how to align yourself with the universe's flow instead of forcing outcomes. Your advantage isn't speed, it's placement. While others sprint blindly, you choose a position that turns effort into inevitability. Here's something chosen ones often wonder. Why do people get irritated when I don't compete? Because your refusal destroys their entire strategy. They need rivalry to feel relevant. They need comparison to feel strong. When you remove yourself from the competitive dynamic, they lose their footing. They can't measure you, they can't chase you, they can't predict you. That's when the whispers start. They don't fight, they just rise. You can't beat someone who doesn't play your game. They move differently, and it works. Your power isn't in outshining others. It's in choosing spaces where no one else shines at all. You win by alignment. You win by design. You win by stepping into the lane the universe carved specifically for you. And that's why you're not just ahead. You're untouchable. Number 12, you don't just hear their words. You see the entire chessboard. They thought it was a casual conversation. You were tracking the power play they didn't realize they made. Most people listen for meaning. You listen for hierarchy. You're not reading the room. You're mapping the battlefield under it. Most people walk into conversations like they're harmless exchanges. Just words, just tone, just small talk. But you see the layers. You catch the micro pauses, the ownership grabs, the status games, the subtle tests people don't even know they're running. While others focus on what's being said, you're decoding why it's being said, how it's delivered, and what power shift is hiding underneath. It's not paranoia. It's pattern recognition at a level most people will never reach. Imagine this. Someone laughs a little too loudly, interrupts at a strategic moment, or lowers their voice just enough to assert dominance. Everyone else misses it, but you catch it instantly. You clock their motives, insecurity, intention, and social rank in seconds. And because you see the structure, you automatically control the structure. Your awareness becomes leverage, silent, effortless, undeniable. People feel exposed around you without understanding why. They straighten up, adjust their tone, choose their words carefully. Not because you demanded it, but because they sense you're tracking layers they can't hide. You create rules without speaking them, and they follow without noticing. You reveal nothing, and that's why they reveal everything. You don't show your intelligence like others do. You let it sit under the surface like a shadow, felt but unseen. People underestimate you by instinct, and you allow it because misjudgment is leverage. They talk too much, they take risky angles, they overextend, and every misstep becomes information you store quietly. Your concealment is intentional. You reveal pieces of yourself only when it serves the structure. While others flex their intelligence for attention, you move with restraint, making people uneasy because they can't measure your depth. Not knowing your full capacity forces them into defensive mode. Their ego does the rest. But here's where the whispers truly begin. It's not just that you're intelligent. Plenty of people are. It's that you're disciplined. Intelligence excites people. Discipline terrifies them. Brilliant minds fall apart without consistency. They self-sabotage, overreact, lose focus. You don't. Your intelligence is paired with self-control, timing, structure, and strategy. Every move you make is aligned. Every response measured. Every decision supported by a system only you understand. Imagine two people arguing in front of you, loud, emotional, messy. Meanwhile, you're calm, processing the whole situation like a blueprint. You see the flaws in both sides, the emotional traps, the leverage points. And when you speak, your words land like a verdict. Not loud, not dramatic, just accurate enough to silence the room. People sense that they can't outthink you, not because you're the loudest genius, but because you're the most controlled. You don't act from impulse, you act from design, and structure always beats chaos. That's why they whisper, they see everything. They're always 3 steps ahead. You can't play games with someone who doesn't reveal their cards. Your power isn't just awareness, it's execution, it's restraint, it's the quiet discipline that creates outcomes no one else saw coming. And deep down, they know the truth. They're not afraid of your intelligence alone. They're afraid of how dangerously well you use it. That's the end of this message, chosen one. If everything you heard hit deeper than you expected, that's because the whispers about you are real. You're dangerously intelligent, and the world reacts to that truth even before you do. If you haven't already, press the like button to keep this energy moving, and if you're still not part of our family, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Stay sharp, stay grounded, and let the universe keep revealing exactly who you are.